Hello. I have lived in France for almost 20 years, but I don't live in Paris. I live here, up in the Alps. But I do still sometimes go up to Paris to visit and see the sights. And so I thought I'd show you what it's like when I go up for a weekend in Paris. So a trip in France usually starts out at a train station. This one is about an hour from my house and is big and has the fastest trains. It's got pretty much everything you need, from the little shop to, of course, cold beer on tap. And we hop on the train and all aboard, she's about to be on her way. From there, spend about 2 hours and 40 minutes sitting on the train, watching the scenery before arriving in the beautiful city of Paris. And eventually at the train station, Gare de Lyon. Gare de Lyon is a pretty big train station and kind of boisterous. I believe that French kind of overdo their train stations, but they are pretty from the outside. From here, we're just a block or two away from our hotel, where I got a tiny little single room for the low price of only 200 euros a night. But you will see, there was breakfast included and an elevator that speaks French, so that's pretty good. Once we get settled into the room, we are delighted by a view of the beautiful Paris skyline. All settled in, it's time to head to the bistro. Here I am in a traditional French bistro, drinking wine and watching people. There are a lot more people that walk in front of this bistro in Paris than walk in front of my house. So this is the perfect place for watching people. Rue Cremieux was right across the street from my hotel, and this quaint gem was nice, but the highlight for me was this shirt. This is a road with houses that all have different colors. I call it Colorful House Road. I believe it has a different name in French. Then, like my imaginary French ancestors, I stormed the Bastille. Although I don't think they took the metro or got barked at by the little dog. That was kind of scary. During this trip to Paris, I did not visit the Eiffel Tower. I did, however, get to see the Bastille Tower, which is this thing right behind me. Now, I believe that these were both designed by the famous French architect Frédéric Tower, but I'm not so sure. I can't verify that. Oh my god, a bird flew right by me. Damn. Now here at the Bastille, I've seen that the French have invented magic skating boards. Now, it's fascinating to see them rolling and skating and jumping. And oh my god, that was really close. On this trip to Paris, I visited the Marais neighborhood, which means swamp. It's nice because it's got a lot of canals and rivers, and these really peaceful paths that you can walk down by the water. This is the Austerlitz Bridge on the Seine, which is like a big river in Paris. There's a little canal that comes out of the Seine. What's nice is you've got a path down right next to the water. It's a lot nicer than where I'm at. Get away from the hustle and bustle of street side. Come down to the level of the river. And here you can walk quietly amongst the boats and the birds One of my favorite parts of visiting Paris is the local shops and businesses and bars. From the quaint local Parisian style to something for your special day, there is something for everybody. I particularly like to visit the glamorous side of Paris businesses and the little local hotspots where you'll always find lots of Parisians. You can see they're boarding up the stores, waiting for people to wreck stuff. So you can see this store is all boarded up behind me. That's because I was here for the protests. Now in the center where I was, I never saw much anything. These stores getting boarded up the last couple days is the only real sign I saw of anything. So on one side, just crazy protests, and for the rest of Paris, life as usual, except you can't see out the windows of your stores. Built on the abandoned tracks of an old elevated train line in the center of Paris, my favorite discovery in this trip was the Promenade Plantée, a 3-mile-long footpath that goes from the Bastille to the Bois de Vincennes, apparently. I only did like a quarter mile, but it was really neat to walk in the gardens up here and get a view of the street from 30 feet up. As you can see, a lot of times going around a city, I like to try and get a different point of view, up above or down below. So I'm up here on the High Line, sitting in this little garden that they made out of nothing. And this weekend trip to Paris, didn't get to the Eiffel Tower, didn't even get to any museums. Just coming up for the weekend, especially in the springtime when there's a lot of tourists, museums, all that touristy stuff can be kind of a pain. There's just too many people. I really like to just pick a neighborhood, poke around that area and see what I discover. While in Paris, I also rented a scooter, which I'd never done. It was pretty cool. And I rode it through the famous Place des Vosges to get to another bar. I saw some neat street art in Paris and some very French vandalism. And I just generally enjoyed being a weirdo in the city. The most interesting part of the train ride home was that the lady sitting next to me seemed very interested in systematically destroying and ripping up a magazine that she was reading. She seemed particularly intent on making sure that she could jam all of the pieces of it into her coffee cup. I'm home now and happy to be back in my peaceful mountains. Don't mind the hat, it's just that I'm going bald and I'm trying to hide it. If you enjoyed this travel video, then you can tell me down in the comments where I can go to do another one that you might like. Otherwise, you can watch this video up here where I pour hot sauce on my face for your viewing pleasure. Or this one where I talk about wooden spoons. But maybe you shouldn't watch that one because most people didn't like it and you probably won't either. That is the end of this video. You should go now. Goodbye.